going on, everybody? And welcome back to Mastercrafted. We got a special one today. We got an interview with our good buddy Matt Evans. He just got himself a golden ticket this last weekend at the Cluckers GT down in Colorado Springs. Phil and I also got to attend, had some great games ourselves. But I mean, y'all want to hear what Matt did to get a golden ticket, right? Like that's got to be where we go. So Matt, dude, thanks for coming on today. How you doing, buddy?
Doing great. Over the moon about this weekend. It's been a long time coming. Been playing NIDS forever, and I think this is my first podium in this edition. So I will take it.
Hell yeah. Well, we appreciate you having you. We appreciate you coming on. It's great to have you. Before we dive into it, Phil, maybe give us a little background about the event we all went to and how you did yourself.
Yeah, so Thundercluckers GT, this is one of their first GTs, but this is their first golden ticket event, and it is a growing community. Colorado Springs is fantastic. Denver is huge. So we had a 70-person GT without breaking a sweat. Like, there were 70 players there, and there were people batting down the hinges to try to get into this GT because that's how popular it is. We had people come from all the way up in Wyoming and Montana, and then I came up from New Mexico, where I'm living now. So I drove all the way back up just to see the boys again and play some 40K. So a 70-person GT. It was a great event. I went 4-1. My only loss was in the Column K and his Space Marines. Everything else. And I was running Custodes, the Golden Horde, just because I didn't have time to get the list that I actually wanted ready. So I took something I was very comfortable with and went 4-1. So overall, we've talked about it in our videos before, expecting to go 5-0, 6-0. And being a consistent 6-0 player is very difficult, especially nowadays with how good the 40K community has gotten. But I feel very close. I feel like I'm in a good position. Lane and I have already discussed it. We're going after our golden tickets as well. We will be getting them and joining Matt in Barcelona. So I'm looking forward to that. But it takes work. It takes practice. And I'm very thankful for the opportunities that we get to play incredibly good players that help us along the path to become good 40K players.
Yeah, it was a super good event, and it was a pretty solid field. I think there was at least I'd say around 12 players that we were all like, okay, that person has a reasonable chance to win this thing. And out of 70, that's not bad at all. That's 20% of the field almost and stuff. But we'll start from the top, Matt. The beginning of it, building this list, and kind of how you ended up, where you're at with Tyranids, because we've seen you try many a thing in the last 2 months when it comes to NIDS, but you're at a whole new place, and kind of run us through that.
Yeah. So I have been, as you said, I've been experimenting. I've been going through the motions of every single different type of Tyranid list that I could play, and I'd kind of just been like, well, whatever. I'll just play whatever I want because I can go 4-2 with pretty much any list, just as an experienced player that's very knowledgeable about their army. So I've just been kind of having fun bouncing between every detachment. I did Assimilation Swarm at the Vegas Teams tournament with you guys. I did Subterranean at the Denver 40K Fight Club event. I then did Crusher Stampede up in Portland with you guys. And then with this one, I decided to go with Invasion Fleet. And this is how I kind of look at it, is this is like the NBA All-Stars list of all the lists that I'd been playing in the last 3 events. So essentially, I took the double Norns that I was playing with the Crusher Stampede list in Portland with you guys. I did triple Norn up there, and it did pretty well. So I went with 2 Norns from that list. I then went with what I'd been playing with my Assimilation list from the Vegas Teams tournament with the double Hive Tyrant, Swarm Lord, Hive Tyrant, all with 12 Tyrant Guard, and threw those in the list as well. And then also while we were in Portland, I ended up playing in a mirror match against someone playing Sam Pope's Invasion Fleet NIDS with the Termagant Blobs. And I was like, okay, I understand why these are really good. Now seeing someone, utilizing them in this detachment. So I was like, and you know what? The Tyrant Guard in this detachment are pretty much just as good as they are in Assimilation. Instead of them resurrecting, they get a 5-up feel no pain and just don't die in the first place. And Norns are good in every detachment. So kind of went to the Invasion Fleet where the Termagants would be good themselves. Kind of everyone's good in this detachment. So the detachment gives you sustained hits against infantry or lethal hits against vehicles. Tyranids desperately need that kind of boost into big tanky stuff. So this is the detachment that gives that biggest boost. And on top of that, the 5-up feel no pain, like I said, it allows the Tyrant Guard to still work. And Norns Norns have the feel no pain anyways. And so basically, it was kind of a combination of these three lists all coming together. In addition, I actually had another Tyranid guy that I've been chatting with just on Messenger. He reached out to me. Ruben Garaby reached out and said, "Hey, Matt, what do you think about this list that I want to run?" And it was like triple Norn with 80 Termagants. And I was like, well, I'm like, you're kind of just going for two extremes of a stat check. And I'm like, if you're going to go that route, why don't you just like go for all the stat checks? So instead of triple Norn 80 Gaunts, go for like double Norn 12 Tyrant Guard, 40 Gaunts, and 6 Pyrovores with a Venom Thrope is actually how this list started. And then I ended up dropping the Pyrovores for a bunch of Lictors and kind of went for a Battle Shock package instead. But that's kind of how it started. And then the other thing is I really wanted to go in. I really enjoyed in Portland going in with a plan. So in Portland, it was triple Norn. It was very simple. I have 13 models, so I kind of have to take fixed cleanse engage. And so that's just what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to try and get as many points as possible for the team, and kind of going with that baseline of go in with a plan, and then that plan being let's go for fixed objectives and just try and be as tanky as possible. That's kind of how this list was born. So with that, as you can see in the list name, I decided that, you know what, I'm going to go fixed cleanse engage. That's the game plan. And I'm hoping that I'm just going to be tanky enough that there's nothing anybody can do about it.
Yeah. Well, it turned out it worked, as we're going to start saying victory isn't given, it's fixed, at least when you're Matt Evans, and it turned out great. We made this joke in one of our last videos and stuff. We've been talking about this since Portland, the joke of having just your plan as your list name. And not only did you go with the meme, but you won with the meme. And that's just the best part, in my opinion. Like, that'll never not be the greatest part of you winning that GT, is the fact that you still just put your entire game plan into your list, which, I mean, generally you kind of tell people that if you're saying you're going fixed anyway, right? But like the fact that it's people had a full 5 days to look at your list and be like, that is what Matt Evans is going to do. Yeah. And it didn't stop you.
No, yeah, that's definitely one of my all-time highs in terms of just, I do a lot of random stuff that makes my life harder, but it is funny. This one, it worked out, and I think that's one of the best things I'm very happy with that accomplishment.
Yeah.
As you should be, for sure. Let's get into the list and just a few of the decisions you made, Matt. We could talk about some of the matchups you have. You're going to have a breakdown. We'll include that link in our video, but we really want to talk about some of the decisions that you made in your list building that you think paid dividends and should pay dividends for our Tyranid players that are watching now, because from experience, and I know you know this as well, some Tyranid players are pretty down on the detachment as a whole. You've said it yourself, like there's so many armies that do what Tyranids do, but better and cheaper and more efficiently. Tyranids, they struggle across the board. So what do you think? Let's just start off with your game plan of Cleanse Engage. What were the units that you took that really helped you do Cleanse Engage?
Yeah, so primarily the Norns. And the Norns, it's not so much that I took the Norns so I could go fix Cleanse Engage. I took the Norns because I need to hold primary. Norns are kind of the only thing in Tyranids that can stand on an objective and expect to live through an entire opponent's turn. So I took the Norns for that. But because they're doing that and they do out OC the opponent so much, all they have to do is walk on and barely touch a sliver of the objective. The objective is now mine. So it's very hard to screen them out, especially because I can also just, if you are trying to just stand in front of me, I can just charge you, and the Norn is powerful enough, it might just kill you and step on the objective anyways. So it's very difficult to stop the Norn from taking the objective, and then it's a reasonable guess that the Norn will still be there at least next turn. And so with that, then I have the Neurolictors are the guys that would actually be able to cleanse, and knowing that the Norn is going to be there saying, yes, you do actually own this objective, kind of regardless of what the opponent is doing, the Neurolictor can walk forward and cleanse. And kind of that combo of Norn, Neurolictor, both of which are more durable than pretty much anything else for their points value. The Neurolictor being obnoxious with stealth, lone op, 4-up invuln, and 7 wounds is insane. So asking your opponent, can you kill a Norn? Can you kill a lone op guy with 7 wounds and a 4-up invuln? They have to commit so many resources to do that, yeah, those are the guys that are doing fixed cleanse, and they kind of force your opponent to come out. And then the rest of the list is there to kill what comes out to deal with the Norns. But yeah, as far as the fixed cleanse engage game plan, it's the Norns do the cleansing, or at least take the objectives. Ideally, the Neurolictors cleanse, the Norns do damage, but the Norns can also cleanse if necessary. We're going all in on the point strategy, so killing your opponent is actually of secondary concern. And then as far as the engage, because I'm probably having a Norn on my opponent's expansion for at least like turn 2 and 3, I also have Spore Mines from the Biovore, and those do count for engage. So that is one of the Tyranids' most beneficial units. Obviously, early in the edition, they were overpowered, and kind of the only thing that were keeping us relevant was we could shoot Spore Mines across the table and do actions with them. They can't do actions, but they do still score engaged. So going fixed cleanse engage, the Biovore just scores me at least 2 engage points pretty much every single turn. And if my opponent doesn't have the resources to screen their entire table quarter, then I can get 4 points every turn with it. Normally, 2 points on engage and 4 points on cleanse every turn is enough to get 30 secondary, and only dropping 10 is enough to normally win games.
Yeah, that's impressive. Obviously, dropping maybe a little more primary depending on the mission and stuff going into missions. How do you feel like Purge was, how did you approach Purge? Because it's so much different than a lot of the other missions.
Yeah, so obviously Purge is always a problem just for Tyranids in general. And it does hurt my game plan because I want to sit there and make Spore Mines, which is just giving the opponent free kills. So with Purge, the nice thing is it was early in the tournament. It was only round 2. And so with that, you can kind of bet on like, oh, well, maybe I'm not going to play against as experienced a player and I can just flex my player skill to win anyways. Obviously, you can't guarantee that, but that's kind of what I was hoping for. And with it being earlier, there was a chance of that happening. But my game plan, as far as when I got into the game, I kind of said, yeah, you know what? I am going to score my secondary points. My opponent is going to get kill more every turn. So that means I need to make sure that I'm getting hold more every turn. So I'm going to stick with my normal game plan. I'm going to sit on 4 objectives and hopefully he can only knock me off of 1 at a time. And I'm going to hold 3 to his 2, and I'm going to get hold more every single turn in order to keep up with the kill more. And it ended up working out for me.
Out of curiosity for that, did you select your Norns to go to the middle and their natural just to hyper pressurize that side? And
yeah,
then
because I needed to hold on to it. So in about half my games, I used the Gargoyles and Hormagaunts just to keep flipping the opponent's expansion objective just to prevent them from scoring, but not actually relying on me holding it at all. And then in the other half of the games, it was no, I need to make sure that my opponent is going to be fighting on their expansion for most of the game. So I'm sending a Norn that way.
Right. And
in
then
this one in particular, I really wanted to hold all 4 objectives. So yes, I sent a Norn straight towards the opponent's expansion.
Right. Yeah. And you have enough loan op and stuff that you can kind of sit safely around your own natural.
Yeah.
Maybe they have a wave or 2, but as long as you can bait that out, you'll be fine, especially when they're dealing with Norns in the midboard and they're natural.
So in that game in particular, on my expansion objective, I had a singular Neurolictor and 20 Termagants, and the Neurolictor was in the center of the bubble of 20 Gaunts with the lone op, and the Neurolictor just sat there cleansing while the Gaunts just held the wall, preventing anyone from tagging the Neurolictor and stopping him to do actions while making sure I had, 40 plus OC on the objective. So, and it worked out great.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like a relatively straightforward game plan. I want to talk about one last choice because like the Death Leaper, it makes sense. I think Venom Thropes, they make sense in this list. I don't think we're necessarily asking for anything crazy, but the Hive Guard and combination with the Hive Tyrant and the Swarm Lord, Hive Guard specifically are not something that we've seen in this edition nearly as much as some of the other big bugs that Tyranids have to offer. So what do you think the decision was in terms of including the Hive Tyrant and the Swarm Lord that made this list just tick?
So again, these are guys that I've been having success with in my Assimilation Swarm lists, and just realizing how durable these Tyrant Guard actually are with being T8 and 4 wounds apiece. Everyone is teched to kill 3 wound infantry. People are not nearly as teched to kill 4 wound infantry. Obviously, especially with the Victrix Guard going back down to 3 wounds, people were starting to tech for 4 wounds. So you'd see like Riptides and other flat 4 damage stuff. Now that those were removed, people aren't expecting Tyrant Guard. They're not prepping for 4 wound infantry really. So there's a lot of flat 3 damage that these guys just tank because it's 24 ablative wounds at T8 that your opponent has to get through. They don't do any damage really. I mean, in Invasion, they do a little because it's 30 attacks, and with lethal, they'll do something. But it's AP 1-for-1, so they're definitely not there for damage. But they do their job of delivering the Hive Tyrant and the Swarm Lord, who actually do hit really hard. The Hive Tyrant in this detachment has 10 attacks with the enhancement to reroll a hit roll. So he's 10 attacks, hitting on 2s, rerolling one of your 1s. You're converting almost 100% of your attacks, and you're twin linked. So that's just really strong there. And then Swarm Lord has 8 massive attacks plus a Vect Aura, also twin linked. So with this, those guys do all the damage while the Tyrant Guard keep them alive. And then basically just kind of maximizing that pressure of the Norns and the Tyrant Guard. Those are just 2 very difficult stat checks that your opponent might be able to kill Norns, but can they kill Norns and Tyrant Guard? It's just so much pressure that all of it is shoved into your face in a single turn. And people just can't kill all of it. And then as soon as the Hive Tyrants connect, they actually do pick up quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it seems very solid. That is a very large dilemma to put people into, trying to chew through bricks of, 20 gaunts efficiently, trying to kill Norns if they are on their objective with the Feel No Pain, giving the Tyrant Guard their 5 of Feel No Pain. Like, it's just, it's all very, very tanky. And, as you were saying, right, you're not coming out here to kill anything, which in today's meta, like, killing, like, it's a excessively lethal meta. So for you to be so tanky that you're like, well, we're still just gonna sit here and we're gonna cleanse. I remember walking over, we don't want to dive too much into your games, but would you maybe have a couple funny interactions and things like that you'd like to share now?
Sure. Did you have the one that you wanted to reference real quick?
I mean, if you want to talk about the one where you were playing the final round against Nick, where he was like, all right, well, you're just going to charge me and do all this stuff. And you're just like, I'm just going to stand here and cleanse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, I mean, I had the similar experience with the Tau player that was sitting there screening out their entire army. And then I'm like, no, I'm just going to stand here and cleanse, engage. And I'm actually not even going to attack you. Same thing. Nick Rosasco in the finals ended up going first, and he basically kind of repositioned super defensively and wanted to wait for me to come out. And I was like, oh no, I have bottom of turn. I have all the momentum is on my side. Here's 3 lone ops on the 3 objectives, and they're going to sit there and cleanse and engage with my Spore Mine, and you have to initiate this fight. Otherwise, I'm just doing it with lone ops, and there's nothing you can do about it. And meanwhile, my entire army stood behind a wall while the lictors were cleansing and engaging. And he's like, oh boy, okay, yeah, I have to come out with something. And the second he came out with something, Overwatch was super powerful. And then I just jumped on it and killed everything. And he's like, oh, well, now I really, really have to just kill you because I lost all my momentum. And so he sent out the entire second half of his army all on turn 3. He did kill a significant portion of my army, but not quite enough that I was able to kill him on the clapback and get that win in the finals there. But yeah, several times there was another one where my Norn came forward. Yeah, this was actually also with Nick, because he goes forward, he puts his Venom on the objective and loads the Venom full of witches, and then has all of his Scourge right behind it ready to shoot the Norn as soon as the Norn charges the Venom. And I'm like, yeah, but the Norn's not going to charge the Venom. He's just going to walk onto the objective, still be behind the wall, and just cleanse. And sure, you could have your Venom full of witches on the objective, and your Scourge still can't shoot me. Like, the objective's still mine.
I mean, why play the game when you could play fixed,
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to go kill anything. As long as you're scoring your points, you don't care.
It turns out, when you boil it down, 40K is actually just a point game. And so I'm just going to score more points.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Phil, any other questions we got for Matt while we got him on?
Yeah, so my final question is, like, obviously there's very few armies that could run fixed. I think it's rarer and rarer these days because of how difficult fixed secondaries just in general can be. My personal thought, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, is the Biovore is what makes fixed secondaries more successful in NIDS than the majority of other armies, because the majority of people don't have a tool that can send out a small 28 millimeter or 25 millimeter base that can then score you engage. It's not a tool that we have, right? Because you're not technically paying points for that,
Yeah. You pay the 50 points at the beginning of the game, and then it's 5 individual units that can score you engage. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're saving however many points every time you go out and every time it scores points. There's very few armies, none that I could think of off the top of my head, that can just do that at will. Does the Biovore mean that Tyranids are one of the only armies in 40K right now that can consistently take fixed?
I do think that is the case. Like, obviously there are There are every army you can sit there and say, this is my game plan, and you can build a list around it. I think Tyranids are by far the best one. There probably are other armies that are able to make it work. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but I imagine that you could sit there and say, I'm going to build a list around doing X, Y, and Z. And therefore, I'm going to get the most out of every unit because they have a game plan. But it really is, yes, the Biovore makes it super easy for Tyranids to go engage. And then on top of that, Swarmlord is actually the other key component. So that way you're not missing out on that CP gen that you would get from discarding other secondary cards. So you need to have Swarmlord, and in this one I have Swarmlord and a Hive Tyrant. So I'm still swimming in CP even though I'm not tossing secondary cards. So it's that kind of combination. And then again, the Norns making it where I can guarantee that essentially that I'm going to be holding an objective, at least against 90% of armies. The Norn can just walk on and be like, this is mine. I don't care what you're doing.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of combination. Yes, I do think Tyranids are actually the best army for it. And it is the Norn, the Biovore, and Swarmlord that make that work.
Yeah, no, it all makes sense. Excited to see you probably keep crushing it with this list. It's going to be a pain to deal with. You know, I don't know what's going to get in your way, what's going to stop you, but data slate's coming soon, so we'll see. Things are only
I'm sure Tyranids are going to get nerfed. So
yeah. All I was thinking is like literally, I think it's just going to get easier for you. You didn't run into Necrons or anything, but like it's only going to have fewer armies that you're probably like, oh man, don't really want to play that. But you know, that'll be great, man. Go take Colorado Cup. We'll be rooting for you. You know, unless you're in our way. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
But yeah, thank you again for coming on. Everybody, please go check out, Into the Hive Mind. Matt's going to be doing a live stream tomorrow night. We're going to have the link in the comments below or in the description below. So go check that out. He'll give you a kind of a breakdown. I guess, Matt, like let us know. Tell us what you want the people to hear, man.
Yeah, I mean, so this is going to be my first ever live stream, but I've obviously been making plenty of videos. I've had the channel for a long time. Obviously, I've been deep diving into really trying to make this channel a serious commitment now, only recently. But yeah, celebrating is really all it's about. So I want you guys to just come and let's talk bugs, but we could also just talk Warhammer. We can just hang out. That's really what I'm going for. So just having a good time and yeah, celebrating that Tyranids of all things are the army that got me a golden ticket.
Hell yeah. Awesome. Well, congratulations again. Please go check out his channel. Give it a like and a subscribe. Do the same for ours if you haven't yet already. Just keep supporting good old 40K. We're going to try to keep bringing more people on, other people like Matt who are going to be giving us some more insight. That's kind of the future of where I think we're going, Phil. Isn't that going to try to do some more faction specialization videos going into the future?
Yeah, absolutely. And Lane and I, you'll see the next video soon. We've decided what our next series is going to be, so you'll be seeing that come out soon. But the faction experts, we are very blessed to have such a large community in Denver and the people that we've met all across the country to bring them on and have them talk about, what makes their faction great. So yeah, definitely tune in.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, we will catch y'all next time. Do not forget that victory isn't given. It is forged. It's forged right here on Mastercrafted. We'll see y'all next time.